Okay, so for the next one, hopefully we can take out 4 from everybody. Sorry, it should be 20. Should be 50. Okay, so numbers that multiply to negative 50 and add up to 5. Sure, Alice?
Negative 10 multiplied.
Yeah. So subtract 10 and then add 5 back to it. Okay, so if we take out the greatest common factor, it can be done just like the previous examples. So I'll put the rest of these ones up here for you. That'll be 5x squared minus 9x plus 8. So you can check this over against what you've got written down. Minus 8, and then x, whoops, minus 1. And finally over here, x squared minus 6x. Divide that by 4, 27. Is that right? 27, I think. And okay, multiplies to 27, adds up to negative 6. So 9 and 3, I think, will work there. So minus 9 and plus 3. Okay, so that's our first strategy. Remember, if you come across a number like this in front of x, or like this, or like this, that's the first thing you want to try. See if you can take out a greatest common factor. Okay, the rest of the examples today are going to be what happens if there is nothing that you can remove. There's still a number in front. Okay, so for example, in this one, the number I have in front here, it's not the greatest common factor. I can't pull it out. 3 and 10 won't divide into 7. So the method I'm going to show you, I know there's this other method that students do. I think it's usually students who learned it in China, because I've never seen it taught here, but it goes something like this, where they're like 7, 10, crisscross, answer comes out like some here magically. I'm not sure. I don't teach it because they do it very fast, and I'm like, oh, how did you do that? And they don't really explain it to me very well, so I can't explain it to you. It just sort of pops off of the page, I guess. If you draw your cross properly, it just boom, there's the answer. So I don't know how they do it, but you can do your method. I'm going to show you what I call the mystery method. It's what I think you'll find is a little, what's that?
It doesn't sound that convincing.
It doesn't sound that good after I've shown you this magical other method. But basically, the reason I'm calling it the mystery method is, for now, the reason why it works is as a bit of a mystery. So if you really want to learn why it works, you can come and see me after class. But for most of you, you'll just be happy to use it. And here's how it works, okay? You start, this is step number 1, multiply the first term by the last, and this is what I would end up with. Okay. Then we're going to pretend that this is the, we're going to just pretend now that this is what I wanted to factor in the first place. So can someone figure out how would I factor this? Sure. Negative 10 and 7 will work. So subtract 10 and then add 7. You'll get to negative 70 when you multiply and negative 3 when you add. Divide the constant by the number you multiplied. So in this first step, I multiplied by 7. This is what I multiplied by a 7. So what I'm going to want to do is balance that out. I'm going to divide by 7 like this. Okay, so that means my next step, I'm going to have some fractions in my numbers. I'm going to have x minus 10 over 7 and x plus 7 over 7. So the 7, again, it comes from, I multiplied in the first step. I'm going to divide by 7 now to kind of balance things out. So we want to work with fractions in lowest terms. So here, I can't reduce 10 over 7, but I can reduce this one to be a 1. Now, whatever I'm left with as a denominator is going to be moved to the front like this so that it looks like the form you're used to. There's no fractions in my answer. And this is the factored form of the original one. If we double checked it, I would get 7x squared plus 7x minus 10x minus 10. And that's what I started with. So this is the factored form. So again, we start off by multiplying the first term by the last term. That gives me a new equation here that I can factor a lot easier. There is no coefficient, just like we did for all those other ones that you did so quickly. The thing that you have to remember though, this is the step that a lot of students forget about, is now that you've multiplied, you have to divide to balance things out. Once you've balanced it out, you're going to simplify your fractions and then rewrite your answer. We're going to practice that for a few more examples. So I'm going to do this one more time with you, and then I'll give you some time to practice the next few. Okay, so step number 1 is to rewrite this as x squared plus 11x minus 42. Okay, so I've multiplied 2 times 21. Okay. And now, like we did before, which seemed to be a lot easier for us, factoring this kind of quadratic, what will we come up with? All right, go for it. 14 and 3, yeah. So positive 14 and negative 3. We'll do that later, thank you. So that'll multiply to negative 42 and add up to 11. Okay, and for now, you might want to put a star here. This is the one that everybody forgets when I look over your tests and quizzes. That's the part where we balance this out. We multiplied, so now I have to divide by 2. Okay, this is the part where we balance it out. We changed it, we're changing it back. Okay. From here, I have to reduce those fractions. This is x plus 7, and this is x minus 3/2. It can't be reduced. Any denominators that are left over, they go to the front. So my final answer would be x plus 7 times 2x minus 3. And this is the factored form of the original one we started with. So I'm going to let you try that method again on your own for the next few questions, and we'll catch up to each other and see how you're doing. Okay, so maybe you've had a chance to talk with your neighbor and check some of them over, but I'm going to start putting my answers up. You can compare them. So x squared plus 11x plus 10 factored will be x plus 10, x plus 1 divided. I will end up with x plus 5 and x plus 1/2 doesn't reduce. So my final answer for this question would be x plus 5 times 2x plus 1. And here, oh, yes?
How does the book solve the questions? Do they solve it like what you solve?
I'll show you the way the book does it. The book uses a method called grouping, which I find more confusing than this method. Not that there's anything wrong with grouping. Grouping is just, it takes a higher level of thinking than this does. So basically, it's the smarter yet harder way to do it. Okay, so I'll show you that in a minute. But so this time I have x squared minus 13x plus 36. Let's see here. So that'll be 4 and 9. So x minus 4, x minus 9. Divide everybody by 6. And this will become x minus 2/3 and x minus 3/2. 2/3 and 3/2. So I can't reduce those anymore, which means I'm going to have 3x minus 2, 2x minus 3 for my answer. Okay, and finally on the last question there, 4x squared minus 12x plus 5, x squared minus 12x plus 20. Factoring this will be, let's see here, 10 and 2, so x minus 10. 2, and I have to even this out. So when I reduce those fractions, it's like I can get 5/2 and 1/2. In factored form, that's going to look like 2x minus 5 and 2x minus 1. Okay, so those are, if you're on board with those three, you should be in really good shape. Any questions so far?